Hi guys, and welcome to your daily tarot reading for Saturday the 1st of October. Thanks for joining me. I always enjoy the readings for the first day of the new month particularly because I feel it gives an insight into that day's energy, but it also gives clues as to what the whole month is going to be about. So I want to see what's going on here today and in October. I'm going to use the Gilded Tarot for today's reading. And let's see what these cards have to say. I'm just going to show you some of these so you have an idea of what they look like. Okay, I'm going to shuffle them and choose 3 cards to see what's going on here on the first day of October. Let's see what that is. All right, first card, the 5 of Cups. The Page of Cups. And the Ace of Wands. Okay, that's interesting. So with these two, you're very much in your feelings. And you don't always get it right when it comes to your feelings. The Page of Cups particularly is very inexperienced. He's the kind of suitor, the kind of boyfriend that you really don't want to have. He makes every mistake in the book. He really, really cares, but he just has no clue what he's doing. So he's a project. He's someone who's got a lot to learn. He requires a lot of care and attention and reassurance. And then the 5 of Cups is someone who is here in the middle of grieving and who feels like he's lost everything, but the perspective is off. He's still got good stuff to be grateful for, but he just can't turn around at the moment. It's just too much for him. So it's interesting because the cards are saying that there's going to be some emotional turmoil, but that isn't bad news because it leads to the Ace of Wands, which is a gift from the universe. It's a fire that lights up inside of you and that says, hey, this is your life purpose. Please pursue it. This is your next job. This is what excites and motivates you. Pursue it. Go after it. Make sure this happens on this day and in the month of October. So I don't know how I feel about this. I mean, it's not about me because I'm just reading the cards and delivering them. But to me, that sounds like through hardship, you attain something. I don't like that kind of thing. It kind of reminds me of things that I heard as a kid, like things like hardship builds character and you have to suffer in order to get somewhere in life. I don't necessarily think that's true. I think if we connect spiritually, if we let ourselves be guided, if we ask the questions, we can find that motivation and we can find that power and that drive and that sense of determination. I don't think we have to suffer. But I think what the cards are saying on this day is if you're not deliberately trying to figure things out for yourself, if you're not like on this spiritual mission of discovering your life purpose, you're just doing the best you can in your relationships, with family members, you're going about your business and you're doing the best you can. Then the message I get from the cards is that even though you're not focused on your life purpose and the future and what motivates you, it's through the stuff you have to deal with today. You're going to be challenged and there's a demand for emotional growth. With him, the demand is stop just looking at the negative stuff. Stop looking at the cups that have spilled. And remember that you still have 2 full cups and, don't be so unhappy and wretched, okay? Let's just, it's like a pep talk. Sort yourself out. Don't be so negative. And then the Page of Cups is like, okay, but, you can't just spring something like that on another person. You have to kind of warm up to it, like, social skills coaching. So it's the same thing. A pep talk, trying to encourage someone to consider other people's feelings, to maybe think about how he would react in that similar situation. Ultimately, it's not someone who has it together emotionally and in his relationships. Otherwise, he'd be the King of Cups and not the Page. So one, those 2 things are true, I think, on this day and in general. Be willing to change your perspective and to look at the positives deliberately, and also be willing to learn and to take other people's feelings into consideration. But I think the key thing is that your willingness to adapt your behavior to change something, that prompts a thought or an idea or a realization in you. That's what the growth is. And along with that personal, emotional, spiritual growth, this Ace of Wands appears and you suddenly get it. And it's like, oh, wow, this is what I'm supposed to be doing. So the penny really drops, and it drops, I feel, in an area that's unrelated to what you're actually doing. So if you've got a family function to attend to and it's really a pain in your neck and you don't want to go and you're just super negative about it, you go anyway. You manage all the dynamics and you keep positive and constructive the whole day. You get through it, and as you're, I don't know, picking up your coat, you suddenly have a eureka moment, something flashes, and because of something you've overheard or something you've realized about yourself or a conversation or an argument that's just been settled, suddenly something makes sense. And it could be about your work, it could be about your health, it could be about your travel plans. It's unrelated to what prompted it. And it makes total sense to you. The goal appears and it's like, okay, let's travel this road. Boom, done. So it's interesting that through unpleasant circumstances that burden you emotionally somewhat, you really bounce back unbelievably, and this fire appears and really enriches your life. So doing the work is a good idea because it pays off tenfold. Okay. So the Five of Cups, we've got these birds flying in the background. He's kind of lamenting everything that's gone wrong, asking for guidance and asking for a different perspective is something that will be provided. So if you're in a situation that seems hopeless and you're like, oh, I'm just so upset about this, I don't know what to do, and it's genuinely, you can't see a silver lining, then ask for guidance and support. That silver lining will then appear to you. That means emotional growth. If you realize, hey, wow, I only saw this one situation as totally negative and I was despondent over it, and suddenly I realized that this is actually a good thing for me now that I think about it differently, I've changed my perspective. That then means that I'm not always right. Ta-da! Eureka! That's emotional growth. And that growth then leads to bigger and better bonfires internally that really, really motivate you. So I feel October is going to be a month where you can get a lot done in terms of pursuing things that you desire in the physical, actual world. Emotionally, you become a lot wiser and more able to work with yourself and through any of your own personal hang-ups or limiting beliefs. And this to me, it's interesting because it's all fire, but this to me says cardinal. It says the leader. It says the person who is very certain about what they're doing. And because of that, the whole world kind of moves in order to make that happen, to make it a reality. So the best way to go into this day and into October, I feel, is to accept that you're not always going to get it right, but that's okay, because by making errors and by not having the answer to every situation you're going to be confronted with, that's where you learn. So immediately that takes the pressure off, because it's like, hey, I want to make an error so that I can get the Ace of Wands here. Give me the next error, please. So don't be afraid of that, and be willing to learn and willing to receive something that really gets you on a path that you're willing to not just saunter down, but sprint down, because you can't wait to get to the end result. Number-wise, we've got 5 and the page, which is 1, that's 6. And the ace is another 1, so that's 7. 7 is the mind and creativity. So that's particularly important when it comes to this perspective thing. If something happens on this day and you're like, oh, that is so great, or this is the absolute worst, then if you hear yourself talking in those absolutes, immediately reevaluate that and see, okay, but what's another angle on this? How could I see this differently? That's where the lessons and the growth are, and that's where you then receive this blessing from the universe. Have an amazing day. If you would like a personal reading with me, please get in touch via my website. It's gregoryscott.com. On the front page, click on Book Your Reading to audio reading with me. In my personal readings, I use the tarot, numerology, and astrology, and the way I just combine the numbers with the cards, I combine all 3 in my personal readings. To draw up your birth chart, I need your place of birth, date of birth, and time of birth. If you don't have the time of birth, then order a chart rectification with me on the website. That's a process where You send me 10 or more life events and I manually work out what time you were born at. And then once I have that info, I draw up your natal chart, and that tells me a great deal about you, like a huge amount. Life purpose, default setting, strengths, weaknesses, career, finance, relationships, what's coming up in future, locations. So if you have any questions, please do get in touch with me for a personal reading. And if you like this video, then give it a thumbs up. Please hit subscribe and share the video online. Have an amazing day. Have a wonderful start to October here, and I'll speak to you tomorrow.